Yes, indeed. It's Ringside Report MMA. We're previewing UFC 288 on the show tonight. Let's go.
Let's go.
Oh, yeah. Where are those guys? Guys. Oh, what the hell? What is this?
Size
what happened to
matters
AJ?
not. Size matters not, young Dave Simon.
What?
Size matters not.
Is that what you tell your wife?
It's an actual quote from Yoda, man. Size matters not. The first thing I thought was, wait a sec. Is he talking about some porn film? And then I realized, because he's not a big guy, but size matters not, Dave.
Okay, I don't know what this gimmick is. UFC 288 is on the docket for the show tonight. We're previewing the fights. Henry Cejudo, maybe the greatest combat sports athlete of all time, back in the mix against Aljamain Sterling in the main event. I don't know if you guys could tell, but I'm pumped for UFC 288. I think it's a tremendous card. We've got some very good fights. I've been doing a lot of previewing and researching to get ready for the show tonight. And it's got me excited. It's got me excited for the pay-per-view because this main event, the co-main event, some of the other fights, Crone Gracie and our boy Charles Jourdain. I mean, come on, man. This is a tremendous UFC pay-per-view. And, of course, we'll be here on the Ringside Report Network coming up Saturday night, 10 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll do the watch-along. We'll watch the pay-per-view here with you, and we'll have a party. We'll have a good time. We'll do some things. We'll say some things.
It's going to be wild, man.
It's going to be a wild time. Freddie?
Oh, yeah.
You excited?
But before we go to
Tell me.
MMA, yeah, I'm excited. But before we go to MMA, I was wondering if you were still hot on your Yankees, and as you start the show, you put your cap on. So I'm like, all right, the guy's still hot on his Yankees, even though they're 9 games out already, man. We're 30,
that's terrible,
30
man.
games into the season, and they're 9 games out, man. $277 million. Payroll.
Freddie's got a point there, Dave. Freddie's
Must be
got
hard.
a point there,
You
man.
still watch every game, Dave?
Yes. We won 2 in a row. We've won 2 in a row. They won last night. They won last night in the 10th inning.
Last in the division.
They are last right now, which
Kind of like
is
the Montreal
horrible.
Canadiens here.
I know. They are 9 games back of the Rays, but the Rays are 26-6. I mean, that can't last forever. And it's still early. And, I think that the Yankees still have a very good team, but they have a lot of injuries right now. And that's why they've lost some games. Since Giancarlo Stanton went down, they have been worse off. They have lost more frequently. And then Aaron Judge went down, so he's hurt too. And, I mean, when you lose your 2 biggest bats in the lineup, what do you think is going to happen? When those guys go down, things get shaky in Yankee land.
$277 million don't buy you anything better than that, man.
It's not my
Freddie's
money.
got a point.
I don't care.
Freddie's
I just want them to spend it. It's not my
Freddie's
money. I'm
sizzling
glad
here.
they spend it. And, I'm more disappointed in Carlos Rodon, who's a big offseason acquisition that has never pitched a game for the Yankees, that is still hurt, that still can't pitch off the mound, that they're paying $27 million a season for 6 years, I believe. They paid him a ridiculous amount of money, and he still hasn't thrown a ball off the mound because his back hurts. That, to me, is the biggest problem in the Bronx right now, is that they haven't got Carlos Rodon going, and if they could get him going, we might have another starter on the level of a Garrett Cole, and then you have a 1-2 punch of Cole and Rodon. You have Stanton, you have Judge back in the lineup. Then things start popping. Then we're blowing up like the Kremlin. Things are going well in Yankee land. So I think, we gotta take things as they come. Injuries are going to happen. It's still early in the season. I'm optimistic because I know that this team at 100% is the best team in baseball. They just need to get to 100%, and they're going to get there. They're going to get there. And you say 9 games back, and I get it. It's fine. But look, man.
Jenny's not on the block, Dave.
We haven't
Let's
even
be honest.
played a
They're
quarter
not
of the
back,
season yet. We haven't even played a quarter of the season yet. So let's
hope they don't finish 40 games back.
They won't.
Yeah.
They're gonna finish. They're gonna finish in first or second. They'll finish in
That's
first
high
or second.
expectations there,
Talk
dude.
to me in August.
Okay, we'll do it.
I watch this team every day. I understand how they play. I know who they are, and I know what they're capable of. Injuries happen.
Now's
Once
a good
people
time.
get
Listen,
healthy,
now's a
it'll
good
be all
time
right.
to go on Bet99 and put down some money for like the Yankees to win the
Yeah.
World Series. I mean, it'll pay out pretty good if it actually comes through.
Might as well
But-
go on an AJ parlay.
Yeah,
I would put money on the Yankees to win the World Series. I would, because I'm still very confident in the team that they are. I think that they're an excellent team. Just, injuries have screwed them up, and certain
Dave, so are we, dude. So are we.
certain
Look at
certain mistakes have hurt. But
this. Like discount.
I love the Yankees, and they're not playing tonight. It's a rare, it's an off day. They'll be back at it. I think first pitch is 6:05 tomorrow, so I'll be there. I watch every game because I love the New York Yankees. I love to watch Garrett Cole pitch. Pitcher of the month for April, by the way. Garrett Cole, pitcher of the month in the American League, 5-0, an ERA under 2. Garrett Cole's on fire. He's on pace to win a Cy Young this year. So that's a plus. Anthony Volpe. I mean, you want me to go on and on about the Yankees, Fred? I'm going to go on and on about the Yankees. Anthony Volpe could be Rookie of the Year. I mean, we've got some things going on this team. It's not all bad news, but I'm pissed a lot of times. When they lost 4 in a row, I was pissed. But they've won 2 in a row now, so I'm optimistic again. It's up and down. But yeah, I'm in there. I'm in on every game, and I just wish we could get the hitting going. Because we're getting quality starts, Domingo Germán pitched really well the other day. Even Clark Schmidt pitched well last night. It's not bad. Go Yankees. There you go, Miss Brooklyn. There you go. I like that you're in Brooklyn. You got you're in Brooklyn. You're not in the Bronx, right? So, if you lived in Queens, I think you'd have to go with the Mets. You live in the Bronx, I think you got to go with the Yankees. You're in Brooklyn. You could kind of choose, but you've chose correctly. You chose with a winning side. You chose with the New York Yankees. The greatest franchise in all of professional sports. Oh, my God, I love the Yankees. I don't root for any MMA fighter like I root for the Yankees. MMA, I like all the fighters. I pretty much, I think they're all cool. I like Henry Cejudo. I think he's going to win on Saturday night. But if he lost, I wouldn't be devastated.
He's been out for a while, man. I don't know, man. I'm not convinced. Cejudo, if you look at his MMA career, it took me a little bit of time to believe in him. Once he lost the first time to Demetrius Johnson, I was like, I don't think, I think that's what he is. But then he came back and he beat Demetrius Johnson. So I'll give him a lot of props for that. But how many years ago was that? That's at least 5 years ago, if not more.
5 years ago. Just under 5 years ago.
Exactly. So
when he beat Demetrius.
5 years of not being in the game.
No. No. Hold on. He fought and beat Demetrius 5 years ago, but then he fought 3 more times after that. He hasn't fought in 3 years.
In 3 years.
Yeah, it's 3 years now.
Well, 3 years out of the game. It's still a lot, man. I'm gonna go with Sterling, man. I'm gonna take a chance with Sterling, and I think Sterling's he's gonna be bigger. He's gonna have a size advantage. So I'm going with Sterling to win that fight.
Okay.
It's a tough one, Dave, because it's been a really strange time for Sterling, in his wins when he fought Peter Yan and whatnot. I mean, it's always been controversial. If you look at his fights, they haven't been the greatest, and he hasn't been the most renowned champion in any division for that matter. He's Sterling, and it's oh yeah, he is the champ. The thing is that if he beats a guy like Henry Cejudo, he starts to get a real name to him. But the guy's been off for 3 years, and it's not like Cejudo's been it's been 3 years, man. It's been 3 years. The game has changed, man. And we see this all the time. He's trying to do the George St. Pierre thing, coming back after 3 years. George had an edge on Mike Bisping, man. Bisping, man, was the perfect guy for George to come back to. George knew that even with half of his training, he could still beat Bisping. And George doesn't mess around. He still went with 110% in his camp. And the thing with Cejudo, I seen his training camp. I seen the lead up to UFC 288. His training camp, man, there was one thing that bothered me, and I'm going to tell you this. I know it sounds weird, but everything looked too white. Everything. I mean, I was looking at his training camp, and it looked too new, too good. Everything looked like as if it was in a hotel. And I'm
You're talking
looking
about
at Sterling.
the equipment and stuff. It didn't look scuffed up, is
Everything,
what
the
you're saying.
octagon,
Okay.
like everything. It was just like it was too nice for a guy who has to come back after 3 years. You know what? I'd rather see a guy like training in a gym that looks like piss, because to me it looks like he's there, that he really wants to make that comeback. And the thing with Sterling, like I said, he hasn't had like the most gracious wins per se, you know, but he still is dangerous. I mean, this guy is stand-up. I mean, he's got a 4-inch reach. He's a bigger guy. I seen these guys like go next to each other, and it's like, damn, you know, who's been the most active guy in the last 3 years? Who's the guy who's been fighting guys like that are former champions or really dangerous? Even if they're controversial wins, he still was beefing it out, and he still put out the W. The thing is that Sterling, man, I was going back and forth all week. Man, Cejudo, and I love Cejudo. And I'm like, but it's Sterling, and Sterling's wins weren't great. And then I look at everything, and I'm like, I'm with Freddie on this. I think Sterling is going to be the size, the range, his striking game. And there's something that I found interesting. When I was looking at the tapes of Cejudo, like the guy overextends a lot, you know? And the thing is that a guy like Sterling, if you overextend on a guy like Sterling, he is going to take you down. Granted, we're talking about an Olympic medalist. But on the ground, man, I think Sterling.
He's gonna do what to Henry Cejudo? He's going to take.
It's
I'm telling
possible.
you, watch. I'm telling you, if he overextends, remember what I said. He's taking that, and he's taking Cejudo down. I'm telling you, don't fool around with Sterling's ground game, man. He's
remember that.
Division 3
Keep
wrestler.
that energy on Saturday night, my friend. Keep it on Saturday night. I want
will,
you guys
man.
to
May the
remember
fourth
all of
be
this
with
on
you,
Saturday.
Dave.
Because Henry Cejudo is the greatest combat sports athlete of all time.
Yes.
Henry Cejudo, I don't know if you guys know this, won an Olympic gold medal in wrestling.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay?
Yeah.
There are levels to this game, guys. There are levels to this game. Aljamain Sterling, I don't think beats Demetrius Johnson 5 years ago, beats Demetrius Johnson today, beats Demetrius Johnson on his best day, because Demetrius Johnson is one of the greatest mixed martial artists of all time. And Henry Cejudo lost to him, learned his lesson, came back, and put it to him. Henry Cejudo is next level. Henry Cejudo has been evoking the names of George St. Pierre, of Jon Jones, guys that were great champions in the UFC, left the sport, took a break, came back 3 years later, and were better versions of their previous selves and became champions once again. Why do you think guys, champions in the UFC, like Jon Jones, like Zhang Wei Li, like Davison Figueiredo, like Yuri Prohaska, have all gone to Henry Cejudo in the past 3 years to learn from him and to use him as their coach? Why have they used Henry Cejudo? Because he is a fight genius. The guy knows exactly what he's doing. He's kept in shape this whole time. He is telling everybody and anybody that Aljamain Sterling sucks, that he's not only going to beat him, but that he's not on his level, that he's not good. And you can say he's selling the fight, but to me, Fred, selling the fight would be, this is a good fight, this is this, this is that. But Henry Cejudo is not, he's not... I believe Henry Cejudo. Henry Cejudo is not messing around.
No, he's not. I agree with you, Dave. There's no doubt about it.
He believes that he's next level. And I believe it too.
And I apologize, Dave, but there's one thing that I agreed that AJ said when he talked about like George St. Pierre coming back to a matchup that was favorable. And I just don't think this is such a favorable matchup for Henry Cejudo. Like, he might talk all that shit, but they're fighting at 135, which Cejudo was the champ. Okay. But I think his frame is a little small still for that division, and Sterling has a very big frame, and Sterling won't be, I don't think he'll get the takedown like AJ, but I think he'll be hard to manhandle. I don't think he'll be easy to grapple with, and he's a very good fighter all around. So I think, to me, the most important point is the size advantage, and I think Sterling's is gonna have that advantage. He will have that advantage, and it's gonna work to his advantage.
You know what, Fred? You know what? There's one thing that we keep forgetting is that Sterling is with the Serra Longo camp, man. And if there's one thing with that camp, man, They're one
He'll
of the
be ready.
best. He'll be ready, man. He's going to be fight ready. You know, Cejudo, I agree with you, David, everything you said, but he's coming back from 3 years. And one thing with Aljamain is he's just this massive guy, like hovering over Cejudo. Regardless of his gold medal, that was a long time ago. This is 2023, man. 3 years later, the division has gotten a lot different, a lot stronger, a lot faster. And to be honest, in my opinion, he's going to outmuscle Cejudo. And, you know, like I read some article, like he's going to wish that he was back coaching than fighting. I think as a coach, he's got everything it is. But he is at a different point in his life 3 years later. If this fight was 3 years ago, 4 years ago, I'd be talking differently. But now, I'm telling you, this is a big win for Sterling. He needs it. And you know what? His stock is going to go up. There's no doubt about it. And look, I give credit to Cejudo. He's been training boxing with Mike Tyson. There's no doubt about it. Like, his skills have gotten better. But it's that 3 years, man. That's a big time to be off.
Levels to the
You're
game.
not going up against
You said the
Bisping
same
here.
thing about Jon
No offense
Jones
to
when he
Bisping.
smashed your boy Cyril Gann. You said the same
Yeah,
thing.
but
Same
Cyril
thing.
Gann, I know, but Cyril Gann is been more active than Cejudo. But listen, that shit happens.
What does that have to do with anything? Cyril Gann has been more active than Cejudo.
No,
What?
because the thing is that he did get smashed. I think it was just an unfortunate thing or a mistake by Cyril Gann on that.
Right.
We'll talk about
It
that
was a
another time.
mistake. It wasn't
But
Jon
it
Jones
was.
being
It was a
a
defensive
million
mistake.
times better at fighting than Cyril Gann is. Levels to the game. And
You're
that's
right,
what I'm
Dave.
saying, guys. There are levels to the game. Henry Cejudo is levels beyond what Aljamain Sterling is. Henry Cejudo, the way he talks about Sterling's game, the way he dissects what he does right and what he does wrong, I'm convinced. This is a man who knows his business, who knows what he's talking about. He's Olympic level. He's Olympic gold medal level. And when you get to that level, it's something else. I mean,
But
you
it's
could
more
be a
than
great
wrestling,
mixed
Dave.
martial arts champion and this and that, but the fact of the matter is Aljamain Sterling is a very, very good mixed martial artist. He's very, very good. He's become the world champion at a time when the division is kind of in a weird spot. He's put together a nice win streak here in the division, but his career is not unblemished. He's got a knockout loss to Marlon Moraes. He's got a couple losses earlier in his UFC career to Caraway and Asuncao. Like, he's taken a couple losses. He's had his ups and downs, whereas Henry Cejudo is a guy, you know, never been stopped. I guess he was stopped by Demetrius, right? Demetrius did stop him the first time, but it was, you know, a lesson learned, and he came back, and he beat Demetrius, and he seemed like the much better fighter the next time around. It's just a different career. It's a different trajectory that I see for Henry Cejudo compared to Aljamain Sterling. I see Henry Cejudo on a level of the all-time great champions in the UFC and in combat sports, and I see Aljamain Sterling as a very good fighter, you know, who's become world champion. I just see them in different categories, and you guys see it differently. We'll find out on Saturday night, but I think Henry Cejudo is, you know, he's special. He's special. He is like a Jon Jones. He is like a George St. Pierre, and those guys are different. Those guys are different, and Aljamain Sterling, I think, knows that. Because when you're fighting, when you're around the game long enough, when you've been around certain guys, you know the levels. You know the levels.
I just think that size is going to matter in this fight, and I think that's going to be the decisive factor. I really think that he's going to outmuscle, like,
to me, a guy
he's gonna muscle Cejudo.
A guy who's maybe 10 to 15 pounds heavier than the other guy, but the other guy who's lighter has like 10 times the skill. I think the skill is going to take out the weight. It's not like he's got 40, 50 pounds on him.
Listen, man, on his feet, man, he's going to have a hard time against Sterling, man. Sterling is fast. He moves a lot, man, and he's got like those like unique takedowns. I'm telling you, if Cejudo overextends his punches, which he tends to do a lot, he's going to get caught by Sterling. And I'm telling you, that's what's going to happen. Even on the ground, man.
I'm telling
Sterling
you,
is
that's not
something else.
what's going to happen. Henry Cejudo is going to piece up Aljamain Sterling with superior boxing. He's going to come in and out. He's going to change levels. He's going to take him down. He's going to beat him up. and I think he'll probably finish him with a TKO. I think he'll finish him on the ground.
What?
He'll stop him within the first 3 rounds. I think that's what Cejudo himself said. Within the first 3 rounds, he'll stop him.
Yeah, and then Sterling turned around and said, "I'll take you out." Like I guess you're saying the third, but I'm taking you out in the second. So I really believe that's
okay.
I don't know if anyone's going to
AJ.
take out anyone in this fight. I think it's going to go the distance. But I still think Sterling's going to pull off the win. I think no one's getting knocked out in this one. There could be a stoppage.
I could see Cejudo and Sterling going the distance as well, but I see Cejudo winning either way. Either a stoppage or a victory by judges.
Well, look,
I've got Henry Cejudo. I'm happy that you guys are picking out Aljamain Sterling and I got Cejudo. Because when Cejudo wins, it's going to be big celebration in Dave country. Team Dave.
Either or, dude. It's going to be a good fight. I mean, it's going to be a great fight. I mean, if Sterling wins, that's a big notch on his career, man. No doubt about it. And if Cejudo wins, you're absolutely right, Dave. He is, he is a legendary fighter. He is one of the greatest
He's got a plan, too. You know what his plan is?
He's always got a plan. The guy is entertaining. I like to see him. I wish I was wrong on this. The plan is he's going to go out and have a good time. There's no doubt about it with Cejudo.
You don't know. I'm just asking if you know. Yeah, what's Cejudo's plan? When he beats Sterling, what's next? Do you know what he's been talking about?
Not really. Okay. What's he been talking about?
All right. Well, let me. Goddamn.
Go, man.
So he's saying that he's going to beat Sterling, and then he wants to defend the 135 belt against Sean O'Malley because O'Malley's been talking a lot, and he wants to hurt him, and he wants to finish him and beat him up. And then he plans to move up, go to Australia, and fight Alexander Volkanovski for the 45 belt. So he's got some big, big goals and big plans. Yeah. And I could see him pulling it off. I don't know if he could beat Volkanovski, but I certainly think he can beat Sterling and O'Malley. And if he can do that, get through those guys, the fight with Volkanovski would be massive.
Oh, absolutely. That would be amazing if that happens. But those are like some pretty big goals to throw out when you still haven't fought on Saturday.
So
and that's the thing.
Yeah. I think he knows what he's doing.
Cejudo talks a lot, man. He has a big mouth.
He's the king of cringe, man. He's going to tell you everything you want to hear.
I would trust half of what he says.
Look, there's one thing I'll never forget, man, is, look, as an Olympic gold wrestler, I still can tell you, man, I wish I have the video, which I'm going to post at some point, is looking at Yoni Sherbatov, like throwing Cejudo. I'll never forget that, man. You knew that was coming, man. I have the footage, man.
Yeah, right.
You forgot about it. Freddie, the good news is I'm going to post it. So that's the thing, man. Look, I think Aljamain Sterling is too much muscle for Cejudo at this point. Big words to say that you want to go after all these guys. I think, you know what, against O'Malley, I can see him doing pretty well and winning that fight, based on his wrestling skills. But, man, Saturday coming is going to be different, man. This is your 3-year layoff. Not that it makes a big difference to some fighters, but I just think that Aljamain is just like he didn't look the most impressive in his wins to keep the belt, win the belt, whatnot. It's just that shit happens, but he wasn't fighting any chump change guys, man. You're talking about Peter Yan. At one point, we were saying this guy was untouchable. Against TJ Dillashaw. Yeah, okay, that's TJ Dillashaw, but mind you, he had a bum shoulder. Yeah, he had a bum shoulder, but when he came
going into it, he was busted up.
Yeah, but he looked good, man. Let's be honest.
Come on now. No, he didn't. He got finished in the second round. He had no shoulder.
Yeah,
no, he didn't.
Physically,
and that's
Aljamain's.
That's your guy's last fight. By the way, last year, beating TJ Dillashaw, who came in with one shoulder.
Yeah,
that's his last fight.
6 months ago.
But look, yeah, and if you look at Cejudo's last fights, when he fought Marlon Moraes, you know what? He beat him because Marlon gassed out, man. Let's be honest. And then he fought Dominic Cruz. That was his.
I'm sorry.
That was Dominic Cruz's first fight in years.
So you're saying Cejudo only beat Marlon Moraes because Moraes gassed out, right? How did things go when your guy Aljamain Sterling fought Marlon Moraes?
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
You got a flashlight in his eyes like, hey, are you okay? You okay?
Shit happens, man.
Yeah, it does.
But I just think he's a different fighter today, man. There's no doubt about it. And you can see the confidence in him. Like through the interviews, man, the post-conference, the lead-up, man. There's something about Sterling that with his camp and everything, he just looks so hungry. He knows that he needs this win in a big fashion to cement him so that people can't start talking shit about him as a champion. And it's too bad. I think Cejudo coming in would have been better coming in with somebody else just to get him in instead of going for the title. Just build him up, see how he fights, and then I would have been talking differently right now.
And I mean,
That's
Dave,
you
you celebrate Cejudo as if he's like, and he is a great fighter, but I mean, look at who he's defeated, man. I mean, since TJ Dillashaw, sorry, I'm on the wrong page right here. Dominic Cruz, man, that was an old Dominic Cruz, man. Marlon Moraes.
Dominic Cruz, by the way, after he lost to Cejudo, won 2 straight.
Yeah, true.
I mean, I'm not that impressed, man.
He beat Marlon Moraes, and Aljamain Sterling got knocked out when he fought Marlon Moraes.
I feel confident in Sterling.
He beat Demetrius Johnson. Who did Aljamain Sterling beat? Peter Yan, who just lost to Sean O'Malley? Let's be real. Who's he beat? An old TJ Dillashaw who came in all busted up anyways? But what's Aljamain Sterling actually done in the past few years? I mean, if you want to question Henry Cejudo's resume... Who?
Corey Sanhagen, Pedro Munoz. I mean, he's been winning, man. He's been winning since 2018, man.
Yeah,
it's on a good run.
Cejudo was on a good run too until he retired because nobody was worth fighting. He didn't retire because he didn't, he was scared of the competition or whatever. Nobody had a big enough name for it to be worthwhile to fight. That's why he's back now, because Sterling has won a few fights and made himself a name. And he's got the belt. Anyways, Sterling.
Yeah, man, but
Cejudo,
you keep like.
We'll see what happens, boys.
It's a good card, man. Damn it, freaking Yoda just tried to stab me here, bastard. You see that? He tried to take my back.
What do you think about the co-main event? What?
I forget. Who's the champ at 125 right now? Moreno?
Moreno, yeah.
Man,
Cejudo should have went to fight him.
I don't think he can make 25 anymore. I think it's too hard. That's why he's talking about going up to 45 too, right? Like, I think fighting at 125 doesn't make sense for him. I like Cejudo in this fight, guys. I really like Cejudo. Like, I'm pretty convinced he's going to win. I'm a little bit surprised that you're both going with Aljamain Sterling, but I'm also, it makes me more excited about the fight. Henry Cejudo is the betting odds underdog, too. Slight underdog. Wait.
He's the favorite.
Sorry, on Bet99, Cejudo minus 119, Sterling minus 105. But other sports books have Cejudo as a slight favorite, I think, or Aljamain as a slight favorite. I have Sterling.
The odds are pretty close.
Yeah, it's basically a pick'em fight. But yeah, Cejudo in some sports books is a slight favorite. I'm seeing on other sports books Aljamain is a slight favorite, but earlier today I thought Sterling was a slight favorite. But now he's a slight underdog at Bet99.com. Cejudo minus 119, Sterling minus 105. Okay, odds makers are with me now. I like it. There you go. How about the co-main event? Burns and Belal. This fight just got made like a few weeks ago. It's a short notice fight for both guys because the co-main event of this one was, what was it, Charles Oliveira?
Oliveira against, I forget who.
Beneil Dariush.
Yeah.
But Oliveira got hurt or something, so the fight got moved to UFC 289, which has a new main event, by the way. UFC 289, you guys see that? Pena is hurt, and Irene Aldana is going to fight Amanda Nunes instead. It's all right. Makes sense.
Yeah, it's all right.
But now we have Belal Muhammad and Gilbert Burns stepping in to be a co-main event. They both took this fight on short notice. Burns just fought Jorge Masvidal on April 8th at the last UFC pay-per-view, 287, beat him by decision, and now he's back taking on another top welterweight, Belal Muhammad. The winner of this fight will get a title shot. Dana White said the winner is guaranteed a title shot. Kobe Covington is going to take on Leon Edwards, and the winner of that fight will take on the winner of this one for the belt. You want to stop playing with your toys over there, AJ? What's going on?
It's not me, man.
It's all that static.
I don't know what the hell that is. The hell this freaking... I swear to God, it's not me.
It's not?
No, man. It sounds like rats are running through the...
Maybe it's Fred. Fred, tap your mic.
Right side Fred. Motherfucker. Okay, Yoda. You're
oh, it is
here.
you, Fred. Yeah, your mic's like disconnected. I don't hear you.
You see? You're blaming AJ, eh? Blame
Oh,
me,
it's
AJ.
weird. It's Fred. I was like, well, normally technical stuff I'd blame AJ, but I think it's Fred.
Well, I had a little bit of difficulty with Yoda over here. He kept stabbing me in the back with this sword
to me,
here,
Fred.
man.
Testing.
Talk to us, Freddy.
Yeah, you're good. You're back. I don't know.
Gilbert Burns, man, that's also his third fight of the year already, man. 3 fights because he fought in January.
Yeah.
He fought the last pay-per-view, and now he's fighting again, man.
He's super active. It's it's a tough one, man. I don't know.
I think I'm leaning on Muhammad, and I'm gonna go again with the same logic that I went for the main event. Is Muhammad? I think he has a little size on Burns, and he's excellent also, and he's on quite a streak. So, look, it's a tough fight to pick, man. It could go either way. I wouldn't be surprised if Burns wins, but I'm gonna go with Muhammad.
This is a tough one, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's close, but not so close in a sense, man. Because for Belal, man, it's gonna be a tough challenge. You're going up against Gilbert Burns, man. He manhandled Masvidal. The guy is in his last 4 fights. He's won 3 of his last 4. Look what he did to Khamzat. Even though he lost, man, he was still pretty impressive against Khamzat. If you could be that impressive against a guy like Khamzat, you know, I think you'll be able to handle Belal. Just the power, man. This guy's power, his stand-up has gotten so much better. His grappling game is, man, he's a world-class BJJ guy, man. The guy is phenomenal at all levels. And his guts, man. When he goes in there to die to get that win. And even if he loses like he did to Khamzat, he comes out impressive. I love Belal. I think Belal has, he's a fantastic fighter in the UFC, but this is going to be a tough one to fight, man. I think Burns is gonna pull it off. You know?
Yeah.
If it's not by a TKO, man, it's gonna go the distance. It's a tough one.
I'm leaning towards Gilbert Burns. He's the odds favorite, -128. Belal +105. It's tough though, man. It's a lot of fights for Gilbert Burns. I wonder, like, what's the tipping point, you know? What's the point where it's too much, right? What's the point where he's taken too many fights and it's bad compared to, oh, he's staying active and it's good, right? There's a balance, and I don't know if he's gone over that balance. Like, it's tough. Even though he beat George Masvidal and he had no problems doing it, he still fought him for 15 minutes a little bit less than a month ago.
Look, I'm going to tell you the only thing that concerns me.
Sorry, Fred, go ahead.
The counter argument to that is that this fight is on short notice, and the guy that has to cut the most weight is Belal. So, if anything, the preparation might be harder for Belal to get to the fight weight and all that. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
Both guys, there's arguments on both sides. But, yeah, I agree. That's a lot of fighting for Burns in 3 months.
And Burns was in, like, you could say, like, it was tough for Belal to make the weight and all, but Burns had the fight, went to Mexico on vacation for a week, got a call to do the fight, then had to come home and start training, and that was like 3 weeks ago. So,
yeah, but he's in ready shape, man. Like, he's coming.
Well, he was on vacation for a week, though. Like, when you have a fight and then you go on vacation for a week, like, who knows how far you let things go, I don't know.
It doesn't matter. I think the rest probably did him good because his training camp was so difficult within this month that 1 week rest actually is a huge favor. And again, going back to Belal's training camp, his coaches, everybody wanted to fight that at 185, and here we are at 170. That's the thing. It was a tough weight cut, and I think that's going to be the difference. I think that's going to be a big factor on Saturday. I'm not worried about Burns. For 1 week in Mexico, man, he deserves it. And let me tell you, 1 week in the sun, when he's still completely, ready to go, this guy is an animal, man. It's going to be a tough fight for Belal. And I can really see that TKO happening. I really can see it happen.
I think Burns generally has more of a gas tank. He has more pep in that third round than his opponents do. We saw that in the Khamzat fight. Like Burns can go. He's got a good gas tank, and I think Belal sometimes relies on his wrestling to get himself
Belal
out of.
Good his last fight though. Let's remember that.
Yeah,
against
he
Sean
did.
Brady.
But but that's Sean Brady. That's not Gilbert Burns. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like Belal relies on his wrestling when he gets in trouble standing up, and that won't really be an option with Gilbert Burns because Gilbert Burns' jiu-jitsu is so good that if you take him down, you might find yourself into some trouble. So that's why I'm going with Gilbert Burns, because I think the power is going to be on his side, and he's going to land some heavy strikes on Belal, and Belal won't have anywhere to go. So I got Gilbert Burns in this fight, but I think it goes to a decision. I think it's going to be close. I think Belal will win a round. You know what I'm saying? I think when we go to a decision for this thing, we're going to be like, who won? You know, it's going to be one of those. It's going to be like split decision. This guy won from 2 judges. The other guy won. You could make an argument for one of the rounds. You know what I mean? That type of thing. I think it's going to be a close fight where we watch them go to war for 15 minutes, and then we go, I don't know. Oh, wait, sorry. Wait a second. Hang on. This is a 5-round fight. This is 5 rounds.
Yeah.
Well, that might change
But they both
things.
have
I
good
don't know.
cardio,
I
dude.
think over
They both
5
have good
rounds,
cardio.
I think over 5 rounds, I think Gilbert might stop Belal in the 4th or 5th. Like, I could see Belal getting finished late, but I could also see it go into the decision. I think it'll be more obvious that Gilbert Burns. I think Gilbert in the later rounds will have success.
And you're right about that, because look, if this was not a 2-week weight cut and preparation for a fight for Belal, it'd probably be a different story, because when you look at their cardio, both of these guys, they have tremendous cardio. Statistically, they're very, very similar. The biggest concern here is it's a 5-round fight on a 2-week weight cut where the guy probably suffered through that camp in the last 2 weeks to make cut. This is a big problem when you go to distance. And this is where Burns, and I agree with you, Dave, if there's a TKO that's going to happen, it's going to happen in the 4th or 5th round. If it was a 3-round fight, it would go the distance. 5-round fight, the TKO is more of a possibility than the decision win. But Burns, I'm pretty sure, is going to take this fight.
All right, so we're going with Gilbert Burns. Freddie going the other way with Belal Muhammad. And we got Jessica Andrade taking on Yan Zhao Nan.
Ooh, that's going to be good.
Another solid fight for the women's strawweight division. Andrade -193, the favorite. Zhao Nan +157, the underdog. And, I see it pretty much that way. I think Andrade is going to be a little bit too strong, a little too powerful.
Oh, yeah.
And she should take this fight. And I think she might finish Yan Zhao Nan. I mean, Carla Esparza finished Yan Zhao Nan. I think Andrade could do the same. She's a finisher. She's a killer.
Yeah, they're both strikers, man. And one thing is that Andrade, with her power, man, it's ridiculous. I don't think Yan is gonna have the capability to stop like Andrade's power, regardless of her striking defense. Her defense. It's gonna be tough, man. It's just too much power. She possesses too much power, Andrade. This is one of those picks where I'm like, it's an easy parlay win with Andrade on this.
All right. Oh, easy win. Freddie, Andrade or no?
Yeah, of course.
All right. All right.
Poor Yan, man.
So we all like Jessica Andrade. How about this next fight? Movsar Evloev taking on Diego Lopez. This was supposed to be Bryce Mitchell, Thug Nasty, truly nasty.
Bryce.
But he is hurt and he's not fighting. So Diego Lopez comes in on a few days' notice to take this fight. I don't know if you guys have seen this guy, but he's got maybe one of the best
he's
haircuts.
dangerous, man.
One of the best haircuts in all of UFC. He showed up. I don't know if he can see out of one of his eyes with this hair he's got, but it's quite a haircut on this man. Look at that. Look at that,
man. He looks like a Justin Bieber with loads of
steroids,
steroids, man.
That's his real hair. And at the press conference I saw him at, that one side here was like, where is he? That one side was like really over his eye. I wonder if he can see when he's fighting. So there he is. He's a Brazilian fighter.
Man, because he's going up against Movsar, man. And Movsar is pretty much a lock of the night, man. This guy is ridiculous. This guy took the fight on less than a week notice. Mind you, his hair looks great, but it's going to be tough, man. Movsar is a beast.
Fantastic. It's not just great. It's fantastic.
Movsar
is undefeated, 16-0. Yep. He's a killer. It's Movsar.
He's a killer.
Time.
And this guy, and Lopez has lost 2 of his last 4. I mean, coming on a 1-week notice to fight a guy like Movsar, man, good luck. So this should be a lock. You know, between Andrade and Movsar, nothing is guaranteed, but it's pretty close.
Movsar is the biggest favorite on this card, minus 900.
Oh, yeah.
So not really worth a bet. Lopez, plus 550, 60-60 underdog. So everybody is going with Movsar. And we're going to open up the pay-per-view at 10 p.m. Eastern Time on Saturday. Join us for the watch-along here on the Ringside Report Network, on Rumble, on Twitch, on Twitter, on YouTube, on Facebook, on all the things. Shout out to Angelo Contagonis. I see him, member of the team, watching us on YouTube. He's a member over at join.ringsidereport.net. Support the Ringside Report Network, $5 a month. Helps the channel continue to roll and to continue to give you big shows. We got a big show coming up on Saturday. It's going to be me and AJ and Freddie watching UFC 288, and WWE Backlash is going on at the same time, so I'll be giving you a Backlash report. I was supposed to have my man Johnny North, but apparently Johnny won't be joining us on Saturday now. It's
what?
Late breaking news.
Man.
He told me today.
I was looking forward to that.
I'm very disappointed that we won't get Johnny, but he'll be with me tomorrow night. Buddy. He'll be with me tomorrow night at 10 p.m. After SmackDown to preview Backlash and explain himself why he can't be here for the Backlash post show. He was also missing in action from both WrestleMania post shows, I think. So, like, where's John? Where's John?
Johnny's probably like
not getting enough John on the network.
Maybe he found a lady friend, man.
Oh,
I'm just saying. I don't want to put any rumors there, but
I don't think that's the reason. I don't think that's why. That's not the reason he gave me. But you never know.
What's
Maybe
that show
keeping
called?
things
28
mysterious.
Days Fiancé or whatever it's called.
What?
Remember that show that he used to always talk about? I can see Johnny on it. What's it called? The 28 Days or 28 something Fiancé? You guys used to.
He's got wrestling stuff. He's doing wrestling things. Loot Academy, Jacques Rougeau's Loot Academy. He's got to do things with the Mountie. He's busy with the Mountie. All right?
Don't get mounted, John. That's all I can say.
I mean, if you do, shrimp, get him back to half guard, and, you know, work from
there. And then triangle the shit out of, triangle the shit out of it, man.
Don't get mounted. But if you do, there are ways out of the mount. We can all escape the mount, you know, trap the arm, try to roll back into guard. There are things to do, right, Fred? Fred knows.
Plenty of things, man.
Fred knows. What's up? Yeah. Fred knows. There you go. 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu. Kron Gracie knows about jiu-jitsu, I think, a little bit. His dad, of course, the legendary Rickson Gracie. Kron Gracie is super sour this week. I don't know if you guys have seen any of the media that he's done, but he does not seem to want to be there
it's weird,
at all.
Man.
Yeah, 0 pay-per-view reviews so far, John. I'm really, you know, you better be around for SummerSlam is all I got to say. But he's very busy because he's wrestling. You know, Johnny North is also a pro wrestler. He's on the channel, but he's also a wrestler in real life. So, you know, he's got to miss some of the post shows so he can go do pro wrestling, and that's always acceptable. As long as it's a pro wrestling match, that's fine. You know, and he's not getting mounted by Jacques Rougeau. As long as that's happening, we're good. You know, don't let Jacques mount you, John. You better escape.
Put on a lot of oil, Johnny. That's all I'm saying.
That's cheating. AJ would grease up for all his jiu-jitsu competitions. That's how he escapes.
Man, and I would be drinking bottles of, like, olive oil. Hence, no
But
name
that's
mentioned.
just what you do in your normal everyday. That's just part of the culture, isn't it?
Listen, I don't want to mention any names, but but back in the early days of the UFC, there was a lot of consumption of olive oil.
So Kron Gracie and Charles Jourdain. Charles Jourdain. This is where I'm really excited to hear AJ's take. I know who he's picking because he's got the Brazilian Top Team logo right there on his thing. Freddie and I are 10th Planet guys. AJ's a Brazilian Top Team brown belt. And, of course, he is very excited to see his teammate there, Charles Jourdain, with the mastermind Fabio Holanda in his corner. Kron said something about the corner. He's like, I hope you're not listening to your corner. Said something like that to Charles at the press conference. I don't know what that means. Maybe Kron doesn't. I don't know what any of that is. But Kron seems real salty, real angry. I don't know what
He's
the
a
Kron
flat
Gracie.
earther. What do you expect?
I don't know what his deal is. Apparently, he's a flat earther. Is that true? Because
Yeah, it's true, man.
Charles on the embedded said, Kron, the earth is not flat, Kron. And I was like, what is that? He thinks the earth is flat?
Yeah, back in 2019, he made this whole thing about Earth being flat and whatnot. That's why Jourdain kind of gave him a lot of respect, but at the end he says, listen, man, I'm going to flat Earth him, man, because, how can you trust a guy who thinks the Earth is flat? But you know what? I mean, he's a special guy, Kieran. But again, man, has not been in the game for a long time. It's going to be tough, man. And you know what? You're going up against Charles Jourdain. Charles Jourdain is coming out, and he's going to explode. There's going to be fireworks. It's going to be an exciting fight. One thing with Charles, he delivers. Win or lose, he's going to deliver. But I don't see Kieran Gracie being able to withstand the stand-up game of Charles. And even in I'm not saying that toe-to-toe with jiu-jitsu, but if there's one thing with Charles's corner with Fabio, he's going to make sure that he's going to just work the takedown defense. That's all you need to worry about. You're not going to submit Kieran Gracie. That's a fact. You can be submitted by Kieran Gracie if he takes your back, but you do everything you can to keep this fight standing. And that's one thing with Charles, man. He's good at keeping it standing, and I think he's going to be able, with his corner that he has, I think Kieran Gracie is going to be lights out. I think there's going to be a TKO, either by a leg kick or a barrage of punches. But there's something that's not there with Kieran Gracie, man. Too long to be out to fight a guy like Charles.
I think he's got a screw loose, this guy, Kron Gracie. He really thinks the earth is flat. I'm doing a little research on this guy, and he's way out there. He is way out there with some of his theories. Flat earth. That is fantastic.
Oh, yeah,
But
he's
it's not just that.
man.
He's a character. He's got the
He's got interesting theories in life, man.
I think
But you know
Charles is
what?
going
His
to
jiu-jitsu
obliterate him. I don't think he's in his right mind. I don't think he's in the right state of mind to be fighting. I don't know what's happened to this guy, but everything that I've seen from him when he's speaking during the media, and I have been seeking out Kron Gracie media this week because I haven't found a real answer as to why he hasn't fought in several years, right? The guy, his last MMA fight was in 2019, a tough loss to Cub Swanson. It was a good fight, but it was 2019. How come this guy hasn't fought in 4 years? Where is he? Where's he been? And there's no real answer other than he's got a gym and he's been working on his academy, but he's like, I've been shooting guns in my backyard and the earth is flat. And it's like, okay, what exactly is happening? And he seems odd. He seems a lot like in the mode that Nick Diaz was in when he had his last fight, where he just didn't want to be there. I think Kron is doing this for the money. That's basically what I'm trying to tell you guys. I think his academy, whatever. He needs the paycheck. It's a good injection of cash. He thinks this is a fight that's, whatever. And he's doing this for the money because he can, because of his name and his father and the legacy and all that. But fighting for money, being halfway in the game, is not a good idea. Because Charles Jourdain is 27 years old. He's hungry. Kron Gracie is the biggest name that he's ever stepped into the octagon with. This is the first time he's been on a UFC pay-per-view, and he's about to show up and show out. This guy wants to make a name for himself. This guy is trying to become a star in the UFC, and he also recognizes that if he loses this fight, he is likely getting cut. He's likely getting his release from the organization, and he does not want that. Charles Jourdain has come in to win, and I believe he will win. And he might even finish Kron Gracie. Minus 180, the favorite is Charles Jourdain. Plus 142, the underdog is Kron Gracie. I've got Jourdain big time in this fight. I think he's as close to a lock as we have here on this card. And it's a lock like Movsar, whatever. I don't think Movsar is a lock, by the way. Minus 900, I think, is real dangerous against a guy who's got 2 straight knockout wins here. But I think Jourdain is a lock. And at minus 180, he's a lock at a decent price. And if you could parlay that with another fight you feel confident in, I think that's a hell of a parlay. I have zero confidence in Kron Gracie winning this fight. Charles is not stupid. He's not going to go to the ground with him. And Kron Gracie isn't some, Henry Cejudo wrestler. He's not going to get the takedowns that he needs. Charles is going to keep it standing, and he's going to beat up Kron Gracie. It's going to be cool.
Yeah, it's going to be a crazy fight.
And I just got to say, I have no info. I'm just speculating. But I would say, Kron maybe doesn't want to fight that much in the UFC, and he's probably trying to finish his contract out, and who knows, to open other opportunities after that. That's the feeling I get the most of from everything that I heard from him this week. And also, I read a thing where he was talking about he'd prefer fighting in 1-round fights, with no time limits and things like that. So yeah, Kron's in a different place right now in his head. It feels he's not. I don't like the word focus, but he's not. He doesn't feel focused to the task in front of him. So I'm gonna go with Jourdain to win by decision, or maybe TKO. Maybe Charles finishes him. If the guy's head's not in it, man, he could get finished by TKO.
Listen, man, he has that Spartan kick, man, and let's be honest. This guy can throw punches. He can throw elbows. He's devastating on his feet. And you know what? It's going to be interesting because to have under your belt a Gracie name, it's always like a big win. But the thing is that the guy doesn't seem to be there. I mean, we could be totally wrong, I mean, if Gracie takes Jourdain's back, it could be a dangerous game right there. It could be over. But Charles has been fighting 9 times while Kron Gracie has been out the last 4 years. So in the last 4 years, the experience that Charles has got, I mean, he's up there for a young guy, man. Where is he at? 20? How many fights has he had now? 26, 27 professional MMA fights for a young guy. That's pretty impressive, regardless if, look, I'm not saying I have favoritism for the guy and all that because he's from Montreal and whatnot. But let's be honest, a guy who has 27 professional fights, it makes a difference. Kieran has 6, and he's going to go for the submission, and it's a different game nowadays, man. If you're a one-trick pony, it's not enough. You could get away with it with lesser fighters, but a kid like Charles, man, he's been around the game long enough. He's gone up against enough just submission specialists. With Fabio in his corner, he knows you're not going to grapple with this guy. You defend the takedowns, you stand them up, and you just destroy him. And that's what's going to happen. So it's going to be an interesting night. It's a great card. It's going to be exciting, I think there's going to be quite a few upsets in this fight, but hey, we'll see.
All right. You guys want to do parlays? You got a parlay for me,
Let's
AJ?
do it, man.
Freddie, you got one?
Go Freddie.
Yep. Freddie's got one.
Jourdain.
I'm ready for Fred's.
Jourdain, Andrade, Sterling. Boom, boom, boom.
Ooh.
Nice.
Ooh. Sterling in that parlay. Getting dangerous, Fred. It's a dangerous maneuver. Look at you.
Yeah, live dangerously, man.
All right.
That's it,
Barrington Levy, living dangerously.
Jon
Here we
Jones.
go. Charles Jourdain. Angelo had a question about Jon Jones. We'll get to your question in a minute here, Angelo. We'll talk about some other stuff here, MMA-wise. This is Team Fred. Charles Jourdain, Aljamain Sterling, and Jessica Andrade. It's a 3-fight parlay, and $20 will get you $95.46 over at Bet99.com. Team
Decent
Fred.
Bail.
Andrade, Sterling, Jourdain. Keeping it simple.
Yep.
AJ, you want to make things complicated for us? What do you got?
That's right, man, because AJ's been on a 5-fight parlay win, except for last week. The week before, 2 weeks ago, yes, I pulled it off.
He's been on. You did it once, but one fight was a no contest.
And it was
That's
a
okay.
And
It was a 4-fight parlay win.
Yeah.
Wow. Look, I'm going to give you 5-fight again, and I'm telling you this is coming in because it's very similar to Freddie's, but I believe in Sterling. I think Sterling is going to be able to handle Cejudo in this. I think Burns is going to beat Muhammad. Jessica Andrade is going to lay out Yan. Movzar, as the heavy favorite, is going to definitely win over Diego. I feel bad for Diego coming in on a short notice. And Charles Jourdain, man, for the win. So that's my 5-fight parlay. Bring in the money because you're winning, man.
So there's AJ's parlay. He's going with Aljamain Sterling, Gilbert Burns, Jessica Andrade, Movsar Evloev, and Charles Air Jourdain. $20 will get you $191.28 over at bet99.com. It's a 5-fight parlay. It's Jourdain, it's Movsar, it's Andrade, it's Burns, and it's Sterling. That's Team AJ. That's what AJ's doing.
May the fourth be with you.
What? What do you say?
You don't know, man. May the fourth be with you. Star Wars Day, Dave. What do you think I got all this gear here for? What?
I don't know. I'm not paying attention to you and your nonsense.
Yeah,
you got a gimmick every show. I don't pay attention. Who cares?
May 4th, Dave? Jesus, guys.
May 4th? Cinco de Cuatro, you mean?
Tomorrow's Cinco de Mayo, man.
I know.
Tomorrow's
Today's
called
Cinco
Day
de Cuatro.
See? Cinco. Mexican champions in the UFC. Unos, dos, tres.
Yeah, here comes another one. Henry Cejudo, right?
It could happen, man. Perfect.
I believe
Dave.
so.
You win a gold medal for Mexico or for the U.S.?
U.S.
U.S., man.
But he
And
represents Mexico. He's got Mexican heritage.
He was pretty harsh on Sterling, man, about his, who he gives, allegiance to. So, Cejudo is all U.S., man.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go with, I'll give you a 3-fight parlay. I'll give you a 3-fight parlay, all right? Team Dave is keeping it simple and fun. Spicy. We're going to start the night on the prelims, which AJ never likes doing, but I'm crazy like that. We're going to go with Marina Rodriguez over Verna Jandiroba minus 140. I like that price on Rodriguez. We're going with Marina. We're going with Cejudo in the main event, and we're going with Charles Jourdain. It's a 3-fight parlay. Jourdain, Cejudo, Rodriguez. $20 gets you 101.42 at bet99.com. Team Dave parlay, Rodriguez, Cejudo, Jourdain. I also like Drew Dober and Matt Frivola fight. I like Dober in that fight over Frivola.
I was going to go for the other one.
Well, Dober is a favorite. I like Dober to win minus 217 over Frivola. I also like there's a couple fights on the prelims that I liked. Mostly that Marina Rodriguez fight and that Drew Dober fight. Dober and Rodriguez are my prelim picks. And I like Zalgas Zumagulov to pull off the upset over Rafael Estevam. So there's that. But the Team Dave parlay is Jourdain, Cejudo, and Rodriguez. And that's UFC 288. We'll be with you Saturday night to do the watch-along. Jon Jones is saying that he is going to retire after the Stipe fight unless Francis Ngannou... What, you don't like that, Fred? Unless Francis Ngannou comes out to fight. Francis Ngannou is all upset because nobody wants to give him the money that he wants or the pieces, that he wants. He tried to get a deal with ONE FC, and it couldn't happen. Apparently, he was asking for more than money that they were not interested in giving him, which was similar to the deal with the UFC. I think Francis Ngannou has basically priced himself out of the market. He's asking for something that nobody wants to give him. He might have to go back hat in hand to the UFC and say, hey, guys, you want to give me a fight? Otherwise, I really don't know what he's going to do. This boxing match with Tyson Fury doesn't seem to be materializing. Nothing seems to be working for Francis Ngannou. And his business people have to be scrambling. They're going to have to be fired at some point because it's not working for old Francis.
The more time he spends off, his value goes down also because, man, right now, Jon Jones is the hot heavyweight in MMA, and Francis Ngannou's the pass, man. So bad decisions, man. It's unfortunate for Ngannou because he overpriced himself, and also he wanted to change a little bit of how fighters were negotiating. And I'm sorry, Francis, you're a good fighter, but you're an old fighter, and you're not the game changer that can bring the changes that you want. So I don't think Francis has the leverage to be doing the demands that he is. and it's unfortunate. The UFC supposedly had offered him 3 fights at $8 million a fight. That's $24 million. I don't think they would offer that now today, man. If Francis goes back to see them, man, UFC probably try to lowball him. It's sad, but that's the reality of business.
Well, that's negotiations, right? I mean, they realized that he couldn't get a better deal outside. Why would they give him the same deal that he refused before?
He got a pretty sweet deal there at $20 million, man. I mean, look, it's not only that, it's his demands, like Freddie said. Like, you've got, like, demands like he wants to sit on the board of directors, and he wants to negotiate the pays for the guys that he fights. You know, and I said it to you guys this week. The problem with Francis is he's a phenomenal fighter. Probably he has the world record for the strongest punch in the world. I mean, he destroys Mike Tyson by far. I mean, this guy has everything to be a real-life superhero kind of look. But the problem is that his negotiation skills are out of the park. I mean, this guy here believes he's bigger than the game. And the time that you become bigger, like in your mind, bigger than the game reminds you exactly who you are. You're just a fighter with a value that is only for a short time. A short period of time in your career, you're going to be able to negotiate. We've seen that with everybody, including Conor. The time comes when you're not as valuable as you were before. He's an aging fighter. He's going to come back, like Fred said, like you said, Dave. His price worth will not even be close to $20 million. He's going to come in and he's going to settle for something crazy like $5 million because he's got no other offers. But don't be crazy in what you want to negotiate. You want to sit on the board of directors. You want to do this. Listen, man, take the money while it's hot because it's not going to be there forever.
But he wasn't asking for anything unreasonable as far as fighters' rights in general. Right? But he wasn't asking for anything nuts as far as, you know, fighters deserve to have a place at the table and deserve to you know, get better deals in their negotiations. Like, fighters deserve more rights. You know, getting your own sponsors in the cage, that might be good for fighters and getting more money and stuff like that. Like, there are a lot of things that Francis was asking for that make sense, right? I don't think we should sit here.
The people supporting him?
Well, of course, but nobody's going to
putting his career on the line over this.
Sure, but the UFC wasn't going to give it to him, and that's the bottom line. It's not that Francis was asking for anything too crazy. I think $8 million a fight is probably low for what Francis Ngannou was worth as a UFC world champion, but that's just the state of the game, and it's not going to go higher than that. It's not going to be a better deal than that unless you can go to boxing, and that's what Conor McGregor did, right? So Conor McGregor managed to be so valuable that he got the UFC somehow to get him to fight Floyd Mayweather. He fought Floyd Mayweather, he made $100 million, and then he became another level star, and the UFC has to kind of meet his price and meet his demands to get him to fight. It's really the UFC trying to get him to fight because he's just so valuable for them. But there's nobody else really like that. And Francis thought, well, I'm the UFC heavyweight champion. I've got the golden ticket here. Let me see if I could parlay this into a big boxing career. And the UFC didn't want to let him do that while under contract with them, so he left the UFC and tried to get it done, and it doesn't seem like it's getting done. So now he's at a point where, well, there's no fight. There's no fight. There's no payday. There's nothing. And it's going to be tough for him to go back to the UFC at this point because Dana White has said
it the best,
he's not interested in having him fight. But, you know, I think that at some point they should make a deal and get Francis Ngannou back in the UFC because that's really where he's most valuable for Francis and for MMA. He's talking about, you know, there's negotiations going on with PFL, with ONE FC, with whoever, but I don't know.
It's not the same, man. And let me tell you this. Like Daniel Cormier was saying, he says, look, bite the bullet, get back to the UFC. I think there's still going to be a big payout if Jon Jones beats Miocic, which I think he will, and he says, I'll keep fighting if Ngannou comes back, fight with Ngannou. And that's going to be the big payout for both of them, and I think both of them will, like, pretty much retire from that fight. Win or lose, both of them will probably retire. But I think there's still some value for Ngannou if he comes back now. Because if he keeps, like, dissing other organizations, his stock goes down, man. It's only normal. He's got to come back. Maybe the UFC will offer him, like, an equivalent to $20 million and some maybe interesting points on the pay-per-view. But he's got to come back. Daniel Cormier is absolutely right, man. Bite the bullet and step back in. And challenge the winner out of Jon Jones Stipe. That's it. Done.
Yeah.
Freddie, where the heck did you go?
What?
I refreshed because it
disappeared
was
there.
kind of choppy on my side, so
Yeah.
that's why I refreshed.
I think Jon Jones doesn't need to do anything past Stipe Miocic. If Francis Ngannou is going to step in and fight, that's a big money fight. That's worth Jon Jones' time. But I saw people commenting on this Jon Jones announcement that he would retire after Stipe unless he fights Francis. People were saying, hey, Jon Jones is scared of Sergey Pavlovich. Jon Jones is ducking Sergey. Not ducking anybody. It's Jon Jones. You think he's scared of Sergey Pavlovich? Sergey Pavlovich is a big, scary guy. You're scared of Sergey Pavlovich. I'm scared of Sergey Pavlovich, but we're not Jon Jones. Jon Jones isn't scared of this man. Jon Jones just realizes that the risk is not worth the reward. Sergey Pavlovich isn't going to sell pay-per-views. Stipe Miocic is going to sell pay-per-views. Francis Ngannou is going to sell pay-per-views. Also, Brock Lesnar is going to sell pay-per-views. Hint, just saying. But Sergey Pavlovich ain't selling shit. Jon Jones, Sergey Pavlovich pay-per-view doesn't mean shit. And that's why Jon Jones is going to retire afterwards, because there's no fight worth the money. There's no fight worth training for. There's no fight worth taking past Stipe and Francis Ngannou and maybe Brock Lesnar as far as the money goes. And at this point, legacy is a wrap. He's the greatest of all time. It's money time. It's cashing in on that legacy, and, you know, you got another fight, maybe another one after that if Francis reemerges. Other than that, Jon Jones can call it a career, greatest of all time, healthy and wealthy. And if he wants to come back in 3-4 years' time, he could. He could. He's young enough that he could still be in his late 30s, early 40s, and we all know at heavyweight, guys can still compete in their early 40s. You know, it's a thing that's possible for Jon Jones to retire, wait for Sergey Pavlovich to become valuable enough to fight, or whoever, and then you come back and fight him, just like he did now. Just like Henry Cejudo did and is doing right now with Aljamain Sterling. When you reach that level where you're just champion status, fighting the next contender isn't that fun, especially when you've done it before. Like Jon Jones was the light heavyweight champion, fought contender after contender, number one contender, didn't matter the name, you know what I mean? It didn't matter the value. He just fought guys because they were next. But now he's at a stage in his career where he doesn't have to do that. So he's not scared of Sergey Pavlovich. That is fucking ridiculous. I saw so many people with their dumbass takes on Twitter commenting on the. I was like, oh, this Jon Jones thing. I wonder what people think about Jon Jones retiring. I see the comments, and there's like fucking dozens of idiot fucking guys going, he's scared of Sergey. Yeah, fucking idiots, man. People fucking have no clue. You think Jon Jones is afraid of Sergey Pavlovich. That's why Jon Jones is retiring after Stipe, because he's willing to fight Francis Ngannou, by the way. But Sergey, oh, it's too scary. What?
Yeah.
What man in the world is like, I'm brave enough to fight Francis Ngannou, but I draw the line at Sergey Pavlovich? Like, Sergey's a beast and all, but so is Francis. I'd be scared to fight either guy. It's not like one guy's a more favorable matchup. They're both painful dudes.
Okay, but what about the situation? And look, I agree, he's not scared. But what about, like, if the Stipe fight doesn't get done and Ngannou doesn't sign back to the UFC? Is that the end of Jon Jones? I think that's where some people are like, oh, come on, man, you got to give us another fight at heavyweight, man. We want to see you fight. I'm not saying he's scared. I'm just saying, like, to him, it's not worth it, as you said. But, hey, people want to see Jon Jones at heavyweight. And if the Stipe fight doesn't get done and Ngannou's not there, well, Pavlovich is the next logical choice.
But why would the Stipe fight not get done? Stipe is going to fight at some point, right?
Man? I don't know, man. Stipe hasn't fought in a long time, man. You think Stipe really wants to get his ass whooped? Like, maybe Stipe's all right in retirement right now, man. I don't know. I'm not convinced.
Modelo commercials, man.
Well,
that's
look,
about it.
Stipe has been saying that he wants to fight. Stipe says he wants to fight.
The contract.
I believe Stipe.
Exactly. Well,
he hasn't signed the contract yet.
Exactly. You got to sign that contract. It's not like it hasn't been like just the last couple of weeks. It's been months that we've months upon months talking about like Stipe to fight at heavyweight. Now
I'm just saying I don't want him
Jon
to
Jones
retire.
is there.
I don't want him to retire either, but again, is it worth it for Jon Jones to fight Sergey Pavlovich, who just fought Curtis Blades on a fight night? Like, the guy's not main evented a pay-per-view. Cyril Gane at least fought for the title, main evented a pay-per-view. He was well known. You know, Sergey Pavlovich is kind of known in MMA circles, but I don't know how much that pay-per-view really sells. And I think Jon Jones is at a point in his career where he wants the other guy to hold up his end. He wants to fight a draw. He doesn't want to be the A side and then the other side is like the D side. You know, he wants something else.
Yeah. Makes sense.
I don't think Sergey is that guy.
There's
So
a lot of A sides at heavyweight right now.
well,
I mean, the
Yeah, you
options
do.
are like
there's
this.
three.
Ngannou and Lesnar.
Like Ngannou, Lesnar, Stipe. Those are the big ones. If I'm Jon Jones, I am just I'm calling Brock in Saskatchewan going, hey, Brock, after you beat up Cody Rhodes at Backlash, if I'm Jon Jones, I'm going to Puerto Rico for Backlash. I'm getting front row tickets, and I'm yelling at Brock Lesnar during his match with Cody Rhodes. I would be angling for that fight so hard if I were Jon Jones. I would be jumping into the WWE ring and trying to get into it with Brock and saying, come meet me in the octagon, see if you've got any balls, because the money that is there is astronomical. And I think it's a pretty winnable fight for Jon Jones. So I would do anything and everything to convince Brock to jump into the cage. You got to get
the
him to do it.
UFC would make the bulk of that money.
Sure. But so what? So what?
Well, that's going to be hard to convince Brock for that.
I think Brock would make a ton of money, too. I think that's the big fight. You go after Brock at WWE. Go after Cody, too. Why not?
That
you
would
see
be
Conor
cool,
McGregor.
listen, man.
Conor McGregor is talking about Paul Heyman and Roman Reigns and shit. He is at the bare knuckle boxing show, getting into the ring with Mike Perry for some reason.
Man. That was a shock, man.
That was
You know
nuts.
what he's not doing?
Listen,
He's not getting ready for MMA.
Of course.
yeah, but the thing is that he's always relevant, man. He's always involved in something. When Dave said, "Listen, Conor is at bare knuckles," I'm like, "What?" I've been watching it, and all of a sudden, boom! There's Conor McGregor at bare knuckles fight, and not only that, he gets into the ring with the belt, man.
Insane.
I mean, this is unbelievable. Even like the owner of Bare Knuckles was like shocked. He was like, "This is one of the greatest days for my organization to see Conor McGregor." I mean, that's the thing with Conor, man. His presence is so big. It was crazy. And by the way, man, that card, the Bare Knuckles card, was like insane, man. You know, it was just poor Luke Rockhold, man. He wasn't doing too bad, but boy, this is the thing with Bare Knuckles.
You saw,
it's no
his
joke,
teeth
man.
are all fucked.
Wow.
Yeah, his mouth is all messed up.
Listen, man, his whole mouth got pushed in. That was ridiculous. When you see a guy like Rockhold like basically tap out like in the air, it's impressive. Mike Perry, you know, could have been a great fighter in the UFC if he really was able to focus and have a good mentor per se. Because Mike Perry had it all. He was, you know, he was marketable, he was nuts, but he's a great fighter. And you can see that in Bare Knuckles. In Bare Knuckles, this is his game. He really knows how to dish out a punishment. You know, he's a champion there, and I'm happy for the guy because the guy, you know, I wanted him to be something. He's done things that you would, you know, most people wouldn't have done.
I don't really care about Mike Perry and his bare knuckle boxing career. It really doesn't interest me. It does feel like he's found his calling. Good for him. He's never going to get a fight in bare knuckle with Conor McGregor. I mean, that's just a pipe dream. It's never going to happen. The Eddie Alvarez Chad Mendes co-main event was actually a good fight, though. I like that. That was
a good fight, man.
I had time for that. That was good. But Conor McGregor jumping in was really the story of the night, and he's got The Ultimate Fighter with Michael Chandler that's supposed to start airing at the end of this month. Conor's still not in USADA. There's no Conor McGregor fight. It's not happening. It's not happening. Michael Chandler's still like, oh, I think it's going to happen maybe end of the year, I think. He's just hoping and praying.
Come on, let's be honest, man. Conor is not like, he's not the championship material no more, man. The guy's partying everywhere, going to all the big events. Like he's not taking his MMA career seriously. But
Freddie, he looks good.
It's all good, man.
But when you do see him, like, you know, without his shirt on and that kind of stuff, or in the octagon or in the ring, he looks solid, man.
Good time.
He's having a good time, but you know what? It could. I'm telling you, he looks
rush
solid.
He's partying.
You know what? Anything's possible,
he's partying. Man. He's having a good time, and he's not fighting. You know, he's showing up at different fighting events. He's drinking whiskey. He's getting in the cage. He's talking.
Yeah, that was pretty.
But
that's crazy,
he
man.
still has not entered the USADA testing pool. This man was supposed to fight Michael Chandler. He filmed The Ultimate Fighter. He still hasn't entered the USADA testing pool, which means he can't fight for 6 months at least. Even if he jumped in the pool tomorrow and started getting tested, he'd have to test clean for 6 months before he's allowed to fight in the UFC. And, you know, clock is ticking here, boys. The clock is ticking on 2023. If by June 1st Conor McGregor hasn't done it, I don't think he's going to fight this year. And we're in May.
It would be sad, man.
We're in May.
No, it would
I don't
be
think
sad,
Conor McGregor is going to fight Michael Chandler in the UFC ever.
Chandler,
I hope you're wrong, Dave.
I don't think they're going to fight.
You're wrong, man.
I don't think they will ever fight. Conor might fight in the UFC again, but it won't be against Michael Chandler. Because at a certain point, Michael Chandler can't be waiting around, can't put on his whole career on hold for Conor McGregor. I mean, you could put it on hold for a while because it's worth the money, but at a certain point, you got to go and fight again. And if Conor's not going to fight until, say, late 2024 or whatever it might be, you know, Michael Chandler's not going to wait. I don't think Conor and Chandler are going to fight. They certainly won't be fighting in 2023. Conor's not fighting, guys. It's just not happening. I don't know what he's doing. I don't know, I don't know why he won't get into the drug testing pool. You can draw your own conclusions there. But the man is clearly not serious about being a UFC fighter. Also, if you're the UFC, could you be happy that one of your biggest stars is in the bare-knuckle boxing cage, circle, ring, whatever it was, promoting them, getting them eyeballs?
But there's a lot of guys from the UFC
if this were
there.
a WWE guy, I'm a WWE guy. And if this were a WWE wrestler, appearing even at another wrestling show, it would be a problem. Just being in the crowd, let alone going into the ring and facing off against their champion. It would be scandal. You can't be under UFC contract helping to promote bare-knuckle boxing. Conor McGregor's presence legitimizes this promotion, and he doesn't need to be doing that. But he did it. He did it. And he's not doing shit for the UFC. He did the Ultimate Fighter. I mean, maybe they'll draw ratings off that, and sure. But he's not fighting. He's certainly not fighting. We'll be watching some fights on Saturday night for UFC 288 to watch along. Freddie, before we go, though, do you have a little NASCAR update?
So, Dave, man, retention, man, you're not good on that, eh?
Oh, I'm bad.
All right. So, Ross Chastain, man, I was telling you, man, they call him the wrecking ball, man, because he's wrecking everybody. Well, again, this week, man, he got in another wreck, man. Ross Chastain, the past 2 years, man, he's been making a lot of people mad. He's a super talented driver, man. He's one of the best drivers. But, man, with the way he acts, he's gonna make himself a lot of enemies. And this week it was Brendan Poole. He wrecked Brendan Poole on lap 33 of a 400-lap race, man. That's like super stupid. He just like had no patience. He just bumped him out, sent him to the wall, and Brendan Poole ended up hitting my boy Kyle Larson also, which it took out Kyle Larson. So then the race continued, and Kyle Larson was like several laps down. And Ross Chastain was in second place trying to catch up for first place, man. And my boy Kyle Larson said, like, yeah, you're not passing me. You're going down. I'm going down. Now you're going up. I'm going up. So Kyle Larson, man, he gave it back a little bit to Chastain. But Brendan Poole, he said after the race that somebody should probably knock Ross Chastain in his mouth. And tend to agree, man. It's about time somebody like punches this guy and tells him to stop doing that, man. If you look at him, man, he's like 5 foot something, 140 pounds, man. I can't understand why nobody's like just putting him back in his place. And every time he wrecks somebody, he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I really didn't mean to do that. Oh, I'm sorry. I feel bad," and blah, blah, blah. Man, at some point, you're not sorry, man. You're just bullshitting, man. And that's the problem, man. There's no more enforcers in NASCAR, man. We need some people to lay the law, man. Dale Earnhardt Sr. was known as the Intimidator because he would let you know whether it was on the track or off the track that if you drove like a dick, there'd be a problem here, man. And there's no more Intimidator, man, enforcer, man. It's all a bunch of, like, wannabe tough guys. They think they're tough. Like Kevin Harvick, man. He wants to play that role, but once it's time to throw hands, he's like, "Oh, no, let's just talk. Let's just talk, man. Somebody needs to hit Ross Chastain." And I'm putting my name out there, Dave, man. If any owner wants to hire me, man, for one race, man, just one race, man, I'll drive and I'll go knock Ross Chastain out, man. Hey, he's like 5'5", 140 pounds, man, Dave. I'm sure you picked me.
Wow. I love it. Of course I'd pick you. Yeah, you're a smashing machine. That's fantastic. Are you allowed to do that? Like, if some guy hits your car, right? Super chat. Are you allowed in NASCAR rules to pull him out of his car and just whoop his ass?
Well, there's been a lot of fights through the years, but that's why I say there's a lot of fake tough guys, man. I think of Tony Stewart. Like, once Dale Earnhardt Sr. passed away, Tony Stewart wanted to be that intimidator, but he's also like a short, fat guy that looks unathletic, man. And his biggest fight was going to fight like a 19-year-old kid who was a rookie, man. He fought Joey Logano. He's like, "I'm going to bust his ass." And he went to fight Joey Logano. And I'm like, man, you're fighting a kid, Tony, man. That's not really being an enforcer, man. That's just being a dick. And like I said, Kevin Harvick, I remember him getting in a beef with Juan Pablo Montoya. He's like, "I want to fight you, Juan Pablo." And Juan Pablo's like, "All right, let's fight." And then Harvick's like, "Oh, no, man, let's just talk. Let's just talk, you know, fuck the fighting." So too many fake tough guys right now in NASCAR, man. There's no real tough guys, man. We need some real tough guys that are going to punch people.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was the thing. Back in the days, it was like the driver and his team, man. The team would come out, man, and it'd be like Battle Royale, man.
And look, you know, I can't punch Ross Chastain. I'll get arrested. But if I have a NASCAR contract and I'm driving for NASCAR and I just go like, "Well, he made me mad," I'm probably not getting arrested for punching him.
Wow.
So come on, man. Somebody hire me.
It's pretty cool.
Listen,
cool,
man,
NASCAR.
on another
You can punch guys. I like that. It's like
man,
hockey.
Yeah, it's like hockey, man. You're allowed to, man. If you're a dick, well, you get it. You don't see that too much in F1. Well, once in a while, you might see a little bit of a little pushing, but like in NASCAR, there's fists, man.
People were like also saying like, "Oh, somebody needs to wreck Ross Chastain," but the thing is, he's fast, so it's hard to wreck somebody that's faster than you. If you can't catch him, then you can't wreck him. But Kyle Larson, like I said, he made his life hard, man. He's like, "Nah, you're not going to pass me up. I'm going to block you. No, I'm going to block you down. No, I'm going to block you up." And meanwhile, Chastain finished second, and Martin Truex won the race.
But it's a good strategy, man. Good strategy, man. And, you know, it takes skill to be able to do that, man.
I'll say, man, his attitude, Chastain, he'll never win a championship because of that, because there's always going to be somebody that's going to be there to make his life hard. You can't be wrecking people always and not expect people to get mad at you.
Well, that makes sense.
And Freddie, are you going to talk about like NASCAR history with Tony Brindinger, the first Arab American? Tony Brindinger, she's going to be racing in NASCAR Truck Series, man. She's the first Arab American woman to be racing. So she's something, man. Good-looking woman. And then I found out she was in Victoria's Secrets as well. I'm like, damn, NASCAR.
All right.
Just got better.
Well, you see, you just stumped me, AJ, but at the same time, you got my curiosity going, so I'll be looking. I'm not sure who she is. I know Frankie Muniz is racing this weekend, so good luck to Frankie. And they're at Kansas. It should be a good race. And go NASCAR, man.
Go NASCAR. All right. Well, there's the NASCAR update, and I'll talk pro wrestling with you here tomorrow night at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll preview WWE Backlash and talk about all the other things going on in the wacky world of pro wrestling, like, I don't know, the draft, I guess. draft things happened on WWE, and Backlash is this weekend. So we've got that going on, and we got UFC 288 Saturday night. It's going to be big here. Shout out to Patrick C. Hamilton dropping a 777 super chat. He says, arrived late, think I'm going with AJ, except for the main event. Oh, okay. So he's going with me and Henry Cejudo in the main event, but he likes AJ's picks for the rest of the card. I think you went with Gilbert Burns, which is what I picked, Andrade, Movsar, and Jourdain, which I agree with. I agree with all of AJ's picks except for the main event too, Patrick, so we're on the same page there. So there's Patrick C. Hamilton dropping a super chat. You're the super chat leader of the night. And that's the show. Shout out to all the members, Angelo, Patrick, and everybody else over at join.ringsidereport.net. I'll be back tomorrow night, and we'll all be back here on Saturday night together for the UFC 288 watch-along right here on the Ringside Report Network.
Please join in and give your support to Ringside Report Network. We've been providing expert coverage and commentary on both pro wrestling and MMA for over 15 years. Go to ringsidereport.net/support to find out more ways to support the channel.